We're live from New Delhi. You're watching the India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India and US signal resumption of trade talks. Prime Minister Modi and President Trump call each other close friends, express optimism of successful outcome from trade talks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Nepal's stability vital to India, urges peace as Kathmandu sees violent protest. Borders district of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand on high alert. Silence blankets Kathmandu as authorities deploy security amid curfew after violent protest. Army chief urges protesters to pursue peaceful resolution. Flight operations temporarily suspended in all airports amid escalating unrest. Qatar denounces Doha strike as a cowardly attack, vows to continue Gaza mediation. Attack draws global condemnation. UN Security Council to hold emergency meeting on Wednesday. And in sports, Afghanistan crush Hong Kong in Asia Cup opener. India begins campaign today against host UAE in Dubai. And on to the details now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has termed India and the US as close friends and natural partners. In a social media post, he said, and I quote, "I'm confident that our trade negotiations will pave the way for unlocking the limitless potential of the India-US partnership. Our teams are working to conclude these discussions at the earliest. I'm also looking forward to speaking with President Trump. We will work together to secure a brighter, more prosperous future for both our people," unquote. Well, just hours after Prime Minister Modi posted on X, US President Trump reposted the comments made by Prime Minister Modi on Truth Social. Earlier on social media platform Truth Social, Trump had said that India and the US will continue negotiations to address the trade barriers. In a social media post, he had said, and I quote, "I'm pleased to announce that India and the United States of America are continuing negotiations to address the trade barriers between our two nations. I look forward to speaking with my very good friend, Prime Minister Modi, in the upcoming weeks. I feel certain that there will be no difficulty in coming to a successful conclusion for both of our great countries," unquote. And India's Jessica Taneja joins us from New Delhi for more on this. Well, Jessica, Prime Minister Modi has described India and the United States as close friends and natural partners, which, of course, President Trump also retweeted on Truth Social hours after that. What impact do such characterizations have on shaping the narrative and perception of bilateral relations between the two countries?
The bilateral relations between the two have been steady for the last 2 decades. There were a few bumps here and there and some tense moments, but as anticipated, it was bound to be on the course that it was intended to. And you looked at the post that President Donald Trump had put out on his Truth Social platform, saying that he's looking for a fruitful relationship with India, and the fact that those negotiations will continue does seem to give an indication that the United States and India will continue to negotiate on the tariffs as well as the other agreements in terms of trade as well. Important for both, as you know, United States is India's largest trading partner, and we export more than $88 billion worth of goods and services to the United States. So certainly an important trade partner, and at such geoeconomic tensions, this was certainly sort of coming as a relief for the moment, but we'll have to wait and see on how the negotiations proceed, what are the mechanisms in place, what are the issues they begin with, all will be known in the coming future.
Well, Jessica, India and the US have announced the revival of the formal trade negotiations with Prime Minister Modi, expressing optimism that these talks will strengthen the strategic and economic ties between the two nations. So in light of this development and considering the broader cooperation in areas such as defense, technology, climate action, how significant is this moment?
Well, it's a developing situation at this point. To speculate more and more would certainly be, but at the same time, it's important to understand the United States has been India's trading partner, and we've seen an upward trajectory, as I said, in the last 2 decades, and it continues with Prime Minister Modi and President Trump meeting just early at the Rose Garden. And perhaps, we would wait and see on how the engagements move further. But yes, in terms of technology, in terms of defense, the cooperation has been made, has become much, on the lines where we are witnessing India and United States move in that direction, and India diversify its defense imports, and that includes a partner like the United States. So certainly, if that momentum in the relationship still remains, yes, there were moments, as I said, that put the relationship to test. But in the end, the diplomatic back channels and the potential breakthrough would have come, and it's come at a time when it was much needed.
Absolutely. So, Jessica, how do you think these remarks will contribute to the evolving India-US strategic partnership?
Again, as I said, Lipakshi, it will have to be when when these negotiations continue and move forward. These are quite sensitive negotiations, especially when you talk about trade, when you talk about tariffs that the United States has levied on India about 50% starting August 27. And it is a moment where there are a lot of reflections being done. So perhaps less to speculation and more to substance in the future.
All right, Jessica, thank you so much for all those details. And India's Saurabh Shukla joins us with more from Washington, D.C. Saurabh, India and the U.S. have signaled the resumption of the trade talks. How significant is this moment for both the countries?
I think this is a very big development, if you ask me. And if you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi's post on X, and earlier President Trump's post on Truth Social announcing the resumption of these trade talks, and also the personal chemistry between the two leaders. If you ask me, the most consequential part, and I was there in White House today as well till late, and I can tell you that President Trump accords the highest respect for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And this whole thaw, if you ask me, it's a thaw of sorts, has come around only because of the personal chemistry between the two leaders. And that's the reason why this is a clear signal, if you ask me, not only to resume these trade talks, but also to make sure that both the countries expedite their partnership across sectors. This is not about trade alone. This is about India and the US working together for a safer, prosperous, and a world where both the countries' strategic interest is preserved. So I think this is a very, very important development, and we should not only hail it, but also build from it. I do expect that Prime Minister Modi and President Trump will talk, and at some stage there will be a meeting between the two as well. But I would say that the trade deal and these talks and tariffs is just a small part of it. Obviously, India made sure that its own national interest was not compromised, and there was a clear message coming from Prime Minister Modi, and President Trump also understood that concern that India had, and that's the reason why you see this kind of a thaw coming out, which is will be a major step forward, not only for both the countries, but also a lot of other countries who were watching this very closely.
Absolutely, Saurabh. Personal chemistry between the both leaders has definitely played a big role. How is the resumption of these trade talks with India being viewed in Washington now?
The other element of this, if you ask me, this important announcement that both the leaders have done is that the relationship, the foundation of the relationship stays strong. As two friends, we continue to agree on a lot of issues and we disagree on some issues. But as friends, we can come around our differences and talk to each other and resume and the dialogue is meant for that. What I do expect now is that there will be an agreement after officials meet, and there is a clear message coming from the highest levels now, and that will make their jobs easy. And sources have told me in the White House and other parts of the US government as well that they're very willing to have this kind of a partnership between the two leaders. And this entire, I would say, the process has been fast-tracked following this announcement that has come out from the White House and President Trump, and the reciprocal, post on X by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
All right. Also, Saurabh, Prime Minister Modi has called President Trump a close friend. How's that personal rapport being perceived in the US political circles?
I think, the mood here in Washington is very clear. And there is a sense that of relief, you asked me, because there are a lot of people, even in the US administration, who wanted this deal with India because they realized the importance of India in global affairs. They also realized that India is an important partner of the United States. And obviously, they didn't want the trade dispute to cloud the entire bilateral partnership. I would say that India-US relationship is much more multifaceted, whether it's in defense, strategic arena, on technology, on artificial intelligence. There are a lot more that both the countries can do together, even on critical minerals. So I think that message has gone on. And in the Trump White House, let me tell all of your viewers that President Trump defines the policy. The fact that he has a respect for the Prime Minister, the fact that he has great chemistry with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that really played a big impact, and that will continue to have an impact on this overarching relationship that we have between the two countries. I think it's in both the countries' interest to make sure that there are enough and more opportunities for these leaders to meet and to continue to engage with each other, to make sure that any small differences that the two countries have can be ironed out with the leader-to-leader diplomacy, which really carries a lot of weight in the Trump White House.
All right, Saurabh, thank you so much for giving us those details. And moving on, the European Union's Political and Security Committee, comprising of the chair, Ambassador Delphine Pronk, and 27 EU member states ambassadors based in Brussels, will begin his 5-day India visit from today. Well, during their first visit to India, the committee will hold strategic discussions with high-level Indian government officials, private sector defense representatives, civil society organizations and leading think tanks. This extensive engagement aims to provide a comprehensive assessment of policy priorities while exploring future avenues for enhancing cooperation on key foreign policy matters, security and defense, particularly in the lead-up to the upcoming EU-India summit in early 2026. Well, the European Union is one of India's largest trading partners and investors, with both sides aiming to conclude a free trade agreement by the end of 2025. The European Union and India, as large pluralistic democracies, share a strong commitment to upholding the rule of law, human rights and democratic governance. An Indian Armed Forces contingent comprising 65 personnel will participate in the multilateral joint military exercise Zapad 2025 with Russian forces from today. The 7-day exercise will be held at the Malino training ground in Russia's Nizhny. The contingent comprises 57 Indian Army personnel along with 7 personnel from the Indian Air Force and 1 from the Indian Navy. Exercise Zapat 2025 is designed to enhance military cooperation and interoperability among the two nations. Well, the drills will provide a platform for exchanging tactics, techniques and procedures, particularly in conventional warfare and counter-terrorism operations. The exercise also aims to integrate emerging technologies and improve the ability of forces to operate in a multinational environment. And India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan is visiting UAE to strengthen India-UAE ties in education and research. Over the 2 days, the minister will hold meetings with key leaders, policymakers, academics, investors and the Indian diaspora. He'll also visit leading education and skilling institutions in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and explore new areas of cooperation. The visit will strengthen India-UAE collaboration in education, skilling, innovation and youth empowerment, creating new opportunities for the students and professionals. And still to come on the India Newshour. We'll bring you all the latest on Nepal's latest situation. India expresses deep concern over Israeli strikes in Doha, urges restraint and diplomacy. And Emmanuel Macron appoints loyalist Sébastien Lecornu as France's new Prime Minister.
We lock our doors, put up fences, all to protect our house. But what about the home that we all share? Today's episode is to remind us that preservation extends beyond humans.
We tell our buyers that the coffee they're buying or they're consuming is contributing or is preserving the habitat for these many species of birds and animals.
We are promoting ecotourism only. We call volunteers to walk on the field so that they can learn from the village.
GDSI is a ranking system created by an association to make its location sustainable in terms of tourism and event management.
We use the feces as manure for our crops. That's how integrated farming becomes very profitable.
Welcome back. You're watching the India Newshour. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, after days of violent anti-government protest in Nepal, the Nepal army took charge of the security in the country. Well, the soldiers patrolled the streets of Kathmandu on Wednesday amid indefinite curfew in Nepal's capital following deadly anti-graft protest that prompted Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign. Well, the worst upheaval in decades in the poor Himalayan nation was sparked by a social media ban unveiled last week, but rolled back after 19 people died on Monday as police fired tear gas and rubber bullets to control the crowds. Well, no protests were reported in the capital, but about 26 people trying to create trouble on the outskirts of Kathmandu had been taken into custody. The Nepal army also appealed for public cooperation, urging citizens not to engage in or support destructive acts. Following hours of violent protest in Kathmandu and other parts of the country, the Nepal army announced to take charge of security operations. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday chaired a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security to discuss developments in Nepal, where violent protests have toppled the government, and stressed that stability, peace and prosperity of the country are of utmost importance to India. Well, Prime Minister Modi said the violence in Nepal, in which at least 19 people have lost their lives, is heart-rending, and appealed to people in Nepal to support peace. The stability, peace and prosperity of Nepal are of utmost importance to India, he said. Well, meanwhile, border districts of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand have been put on high alert, and security across all border posts and vulnerable points have been beefed up. High alert has been sounded in Uttar Pradesh's 7 districts bordering Nepal, including Maharajganj, Siddharth Nagar and Lakhimpur Kheri. Additional forces had been deployed to border police stations. Intelligence agencies have also been directed to maintain close watch. Intensified patrolling is also being undertaken on highways, village tracks and forest routes connecting the two countries. Well, in view of the situation in Nepal, India has issued an advisory for its citizens there. Indian citizens are advised to defer travel there until the situation has stabilized. Well, the Indian citizens presently in Nepal are advised to shelter in their current places of residence, avoid going out onto the streets and exercise all due caution. They are also advised to follow local safety advisories from Nepal's authorities as well as the Embassy of India in Kathmandu. Also, in case of any assistance required, Indian citizens can call the Embassy of India in Kathmandu on the following helpline numbers. Well, the numbers are 977 980 860 2881 and 977 981 032 6134. Well, I repeat, 977 980 860 2881 and the other number is 977 981 032 6134. And meanwhile, flight operations have been temporarily suspended in all airports amid unrest. Flight operations to and from Nepal will remain suspended till 12 p.m. on Wednesday, with the army taking control of the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. And for more, we have Shweta Singh joining us from Kathmandu. Well, Shweta, fill us the details about what's the latest on the ground and how has the situation evolved since the army took charge of the security operations. Have the protests shown any signs of easing out?
Lakshmi, see, as such, protests on the roads have not been reported yet of now, but there are very disturbing news that is flowing in now. Different prison across Nepal, from Chitwan, from Myangdi, Jumla, prisoners have escaped, like 700 inmates from one prison, 326 from other. And you see juvenile home in Baki, there 5 juvenile were killed while they tried to escape. There was clash with security personals and 5 juveniles died and 4 are critically injured, seriously injured. So condition is really volatile and many of the people are I would say, violent factors. People who are trying to disturb the peace are taking advantage of the situation. Riot and chaos is being created. Nepal army now really have big responsibility of trying to handle these people, because it's not the young youth power, that Gen Z, that is doing all the stuff. It is the criminal activities now have started happening. So Nepal army needs to take a strict control now.
All right. Also, Shweta, how are the protesters responding to the army's presence now? Because is there any indication of dialogue or mediation efforts? We're hearing reports that the president has summoned key leaders and that the army chief has also engaged with them. So what's the truth behind it?
Nepali Army Chief Sigdalji had invited youth Gen Z representatives to come and talk so that their viewpoint is known to Nepali Army, exactly what they want. Because see, this protest that happened by Gen Z, it was not organized as such, coming under a particular flag or coming under a particular club. They were all college students, school students, who just came together in integrity, showing their integrity towards cause, that is youth against corruption. And when it took ugly turn, it was not easy to control, because a few unsocial elements in the crowd, I would say, took advantage of the situation. And you see even the fire and arsenal that had happened, rioting that happened. it was just because I wouldn't suppose this is the thing that Gen Z wanted. Bringing down Zinc Darbar or burning down National Assembly Hall. This is a really chaotic situation, and the Nepali army is trying to put a dialogue, but having representative from Gen Z. This is not easy thing because this is unorganized thing. It is not a particular banner that was protesting against the government. It was every youth that was raising their voice against the corruption. Now enough is enough. And you see, President have definitely asked for all the parties to come together and find a peaceful solution. But first of all, see, all the leaders were attacked. Their houses were burnt down. And even Nepal police really gathered their strength to protect them, to bring them to a safe place. But where are they now? Where are they? In which safety place? It's not known to youth. By God's grace, maybe because if unsocial elements know that they will be attacked there also. So it's not easy. But President have given call for peaceful solution to all political parties. I assume if in hiding also, I think they will be coming and taking a way forward, and maybe a solution will come soon up. But till now, we have not got reports. But the bad news of prisoner escaping and hay maze everywhere, this have definitely come up.
All right, Shweta, thank you so much for updating us with the situation there. We'll keep taking details from you throughout the day. And moving on, French President Emmanuel Macron has named loyalist Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister on Tuesday, defying expectations he might tack towards the left. Macron made the appointment one day after his last Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou, was ousted in a parliamentary confidence vote over his efforts to cut public spending. However, Macron's office said the president had asked Lecornu to hold talks with all political forces in parliament to find compromises on the budget and other policies before naming his cabinet. Well, Lecornu will become Macron's fifth prime minister in less than 2 years after parliament ousted Francois Bayrou on Monday over his plans to tame the country's ballooning debt. Also, the news of his appointment was greeted with derision by leftist parties who called for voters to express their disdain in nationwide Block Everything protest on Wednesday. Also, President Macron did not take long to name a new prime minister, but along with it, France seems to be heading into a renewed period of unrest. With frustration over austerity plans boiling over, grassroots groups have called for a nationwide Block Everything movement on Wednesday that aims to paralyze transport, schools and daily life. Political parties and unions have expressed their disbelief and discontent on social media. Numerous users demanded that the French leader dissolve the National Assembly and call snap elections. Messages circulating online have urged supporters to blockade Paris Ring Road, Europe's busiest urban motorway with 1.2 million vehicles a day, and even sabotage power at certain metro and train stations. And a South Korean charter plane left for the US on Wednesday to bring back Korean workers detained in an immigration raid in Georgia. About 300 South Korean nationals were among the 475 people detained on last Thursday in a raid by US Homeland Security investigations, immigration and custom enforcement and other federal officials on a construction site in the town of Ella Bell, where the South Korean companies Hyundai and LG Energy Solution are jointly building a battery plant. Also, the South Korea's government later said it reached an agreement with the US for the release of the workers. And still to come on India Newshour. First, 2 Brazilian judges vote to convict Jair Bolsonaro in coup plot trial. Annalena Baerbock becomes the 80th president of UNGA, urges action on Gaza, education and humanitarian relief. And OpenAI declares Japan among the top 5 AI developer markets, citing rapid adoption.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching TD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India and US signal resumption of trade talks. Prime Minister Modi and President Trump calls each other close friends, express optimism of successful outcome from trade talks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Nepal's stability vital to India, urges peace as Kathmandu sees violent protest, borders district of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand on high alert. Silence blankets Kathmandu as authorities deploy security amid curfew after violent protest. Army chief urges protesters to pursue peaceful resolution. Flight operations temporarily suspended in all airports amid escalating unrest. Qatar denounces Doha strike as a cowardly attack, vows to continue Gaza mediation. Attack draws global condemnation. UN Security Council to hold emergency meeting on Wednesday. And in sports, Afghanistan crush Hong Kong in Asia Cup opener. India begin campaign today against host UAE in Dubai. And Qatari Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani has issued a strong warning to Israel following a missile strike on Doha on Tuesday. While calling the incident a clear violation of Qatar's sovereignty and an act of regional destabilization, the Qatar Prime Minister said Qatar reserved the right to respond to this blatant attack.
Qatar affirms that it will not tolerate any violation of sovereignty or territorial integrity. It will respond firmly to any reckless breach or aggression that threaten its security and undermine its regional stability. Qatar reserves the right to respond to this blatant attack and will take all necessary measures to address it.
Well, reaffirming his commitment to mediating peace, Al Thani said mediation efforts are part of the Qatari identity and nothing would deter its role in that regard.
Mediation in Qatari diplomacy is part of our identity and will continue. Nothing will deter us from carrying on this role in all the various issues surrounding us in the region.
Well, multiple explosions rocked Doha on Tuesday in what Israel has confirmed was a targeted airstrike against senior Hamas leaders. The Israel Defense Forces and the Shin Bet Security Agency claimed responsibility for it, marking the first known Israeli strike on Qatari soil. Also, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel takes full responsibility for the strikes, calling it an independent military action. Also, Trump said that the decision to strike Qatar was made by Netanyahu and not by the US president.
I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this, we want the hostages back. But we are not thrilled about the way that went down today.
Well, Israeli attack on Doha draws global condemnations. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned Israel's strike on Hamas leaders in Doha, calling it a flagrant violation of Qatar's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He urged all sides to focus on achieving a permanent ceasefire, not further destruction.
I condemn this flagrant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar. All parties must work towards achieving a permanent ceasefire, not destroying it.
Well, European powers also condemned Israeli strikes on Qatar. French President Emmanuel Macron, in a social media post, called that attack unacceptable regardless of the motive. He further added that the war must not be allowed to spread in the region. Also, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the attacks and said that it risked a further escalation in the volatile region. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz also called the strikes unacceptable. Merz praised Qatar's mediation efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of the hostages. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also voiced Italy's support for all efforts to end the conflict in Gaza. Meloni, in a social media post, said Italy remains opposed to any form of escalation that could further aggravate the crisis in the Middle East. European Commission also condemned attack on Qatari capital Doha. EU Commission spokesman Anor El-Anoni in a statement said the airstrike by Israel against Hamas leaders in Doha breaches international law and Qatar's territorial integrity. He further said it risks a further escalation of violence in the region. And hours after Israeli strikes against top Hamas leaders in Qatar's Doha, India's Ministry of External Affairs on Tuesday expressed concern over the airstrikes, urging all parties to exercise restraint and pursue diplomacy to maintain peace in the region. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting on Wednesday in response to Israel's strikes targeting Hamas officials in Qatar. The meeting is scheduled for 1900 GMT in New York. And moving on, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed to hear arguments in November on the legality of President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs after his administration asked for an expedited ruling on the issue. A lower court found that Trump exceeded his authority in tapping emergency economic powers to impose wide-ranging duties but allowed them to temporarily stay in place, giving Trump time to take the fight to the top court. Since returning to the presidency in January, Trump has invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose reciprocal tariffs on almost all U.S. trading partners. And more updates from the U.S. A federal judge on Tuesday temporarily blocked President Donald Trump from removing the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook as a lawsuit challenging her termination plays out in court. Also, Judge Gia Cobb's issuance of a preliminary injunction in the case came nearly 2 weeks after Cook sued Trump to prevent him from becoming the first president in history to remove a Fed governor for purported cause. Well, Trump said on August 25th that he was firing Cook because of suggestions by Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte that she had committed mortgage fraud. Those documents were signed before she joined the Fed. Cook, who is the first black woman to serve on the Fed board, denies any wrongdoing. Trump has demanded that the U.S. central bank cut rates immediately and aggressively, berating Fed Chair Jerome Powell. The central bank is expected to deliver a rate cut at its September 16th to 17th policy meeting. And updates from Brazil now, as the second day of judges voting in Brazilian ex-president Jair Bolsonaro's coup trial wraps up. His lawyer rejects the first two votes to convict. Two judges in Bolsonaro's coup trial votes to convict him, with three others yet to give their verdicts. Bolsonaro faces over 40 years in prison if at least 3 of the 5 judges find him guilty of seeking to stay in power. Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, the first to cast his vote in proceedings that could last until Friday, said Brazil nearly returned to dictatorship after 40 years of democracy. Also, after Moraes, Judge Flavio Dino, a former justice minister under Lula, also voted to convict. 3 more judges are set to vote over 3 days from Wednesday in a public session broadcast live. Judges can change their vote until a final verdict is reached, with a majority of 3 needed. Only then will sentencing deliberations begin. Meanwhile, Bolsonaro's senator's son, Flavio, who voted to convict his father, accused the court of executing a judicial lynching without legal basis or evidence. And former German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock became the 80th President of the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, officially assuming the role as the new session kicked off. Baerbock was sworn in earlier on Tuesday as President of the UNGA. She described the current session as pivotal and called for less focus on procedure and more on concrete action. Baerbock urged members to commit to practical steps from education to humanitarian relief. Baerbock described Israeli airstrikes on Tuesday that targeted Hamas officials in Qatar as concerning and urged all parties to exercise restraint and respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the member states. She added that what is needed is intensify diplomatic efforts towards immediate and permanent ceasefire and improvement of the humanitarian situations for the civilians in Gaza by the Israeli government and the release of all hostages held by Hamas. Well, the Consulate General of India in Munich hosted a landmark event titled Women, Innovation and Global Growth. A business delegation of the Women's Wing of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry FLOW visited Munich for the event on September 8th. The event created a platform for substantive exchange on the role of women-led initiatives in building stronger international partnerships. Discussions focused on avenues for cooperation between Bavarian institutions and Indian industry leaders, especially in business innovation, entrepreneurship and knowledge sharing. Marking a significant milestone, the gathering also witnessed the signing of a memorandum of understanding, paving the way for deeper engagement and global growth driven by women innovators.
I think it is a great, valuable addition in Indo-German trade relations. The women-led trade is something which we all look forward to.
Synergies are the best because we have met a lot of women organizations here and the consulate, which is working a lot in business between Germany and India. And I'm hoping to take this wonderful meeting, this wonderful synergy and this wonderful bridging of gaps between us, the bridges that we are going to build with women entrepreneurs and every kind of entrepreneurs here. And I'm really happy that I could connect with all of them.
Well, Apple introduced an upgraded line of new iPhones, including a slimmer iPhone Air, and held prices steady amid US President Trump's tariffs that have hurt the company's profit. Well, the iPhone Air comes with a high-density battery and a brand new processor and will be priced starting at $999. The model was the star of the company's annual product launch event. Apple called it the most durable iPhone yet. It will use the A19 Pro, a processor chip that it said it had tweaked for better energy efficiency. Apple also launched the iPhone 17 and iPhone 17 Pro, the latest upgrade to its flagship smartphone, as well as the new version of the AirPods Pro wireless headphones and a blood pressure monitor in its latest Apple Watch. Well, OpenAI said Japan is among the world's top 5 markets for AI developers. The company noted growing use of generative AI in education and plans to launch a parental control system for chatbots. Experts say this reflects Japan's rapid adoption of AI and its potential to shape future innovation in the region. Well, as per the Future of the Jobs Report 2025 released by the World Economic Forum, India has posted the lowest unemployment rate across G20 nations at just 2%. Labour and Employment Minister Mansukh Mandavia shared the figures in New Delhi, framing them as evidence of a resilient job market and expanding workforce opportunities. In India, industries such as robotics and artificial intelligence are making major investments which are likely to transform the nature of jobs. According to the report, India will see the fastest growth in fields such as the big data specialist, AI machine learning specialist, and security management professionals. The report also shows that 67% of Indian companies are prioritizing diverse talent, while the global average is just 47%. Apart from this, the trend of Indian companies has now moved towards skill-based recruitment process, and they are reducing the requirement of the degree. On the technical front, 96% of Indian organizations are already implementing AI programs, which is higher than the global average of 88%. Also, India and the US rank top in generative AI training. The World Economic Forum has warned that aging populations in high-income countries are shrinking the workforce, while growing working populations in countries like India will make a significant contribution to the future global economy. Well, India will not only emerge as a major force in the global economy, but will also become a leading center for employment generation and technological innovation. And now some updates from the 2025 Toronto International Film Festival. Well, the Screen International is a British film magazine focusing on the international film business. It provides news, reviews, features, analysis, box office insights, festival reports and commentary for the global film industry. Munmun Bhattacharya speaks with two senior executives of the magazine in Toronto on Screen's coverage of India. Take a listen.
Screen International is a British film magazine that covers films and all about films around the world. Joining us are two very senior executives from Screen International. You are carrying one of the editions of the Screen International here. Tell us about what kind of coverage is India seeing in the magazine?
We are a partner of India and the NFDC year-round. We have a partnership on the Film Bazaar, and we help promote Indian industry, films and festivals year-round. So Toronto's no different. We've got a full issue packed with news, reviews, features from Toronto. All the films in the schedule here, lots of good reviews. Of course, we'll promote Indian films along with films from around the world.
Over the years, would you say, has India's coverage as far as the film world is concerned increased in the magazine?
Definitely. I mean, we're doing more and more each year. We've just been speaking now with your colleagues from the Film Bazaar. Our partnerships grow with you every year. We've got a new partnership, another increased partnership with Film Bazaar this year coming up. We're going to be helping promote Waves Bazaar over the coming year. We've worked with Jojo Mummy Festival in Mumbai.
So tell us about the kind of coverage that India is getting.
The Screen covers, globally all of the films that enter into the awards season, and I'm based in the LA office, so my role is really just to make sure that we are commercially supporting those films. We have an editorial team that editorially supports them too, and obviously India is one of the biggest players in the game, so every year we look dramatically at what's coming in, and as the season unrolls, we see what films become favourites, and India's definitely always got great films in the mix.
What is the kind of interest that you see among your readers for India?
Everyone's covered fairly, but India is obviously a very important player in the game, and we cover them at the festivals, we cover the films at the festivals, then we start to build our list of what films are going to be in the race, and then when India submits its film, it will be covered during the awards season.
IFFI is a premier international film festival, not just in India but in South Asia. How have you been covering it, and what are your future plans?
So I think looking at our coverage from IFFI last year, the talk was around genre and around the co-production market and how genre from that market was traveling well internationally. So India and co-productions with other countries.
Considering all the factors, the coverage of India as well as of Indian films and Indian film festivals are all increasing in magazines like the Screen International. Thank you for joining us here on DD India with cameraman YK Loknath. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from Toronto for DD India.
Well, the TIFF shop is the official merchandise store of the Toronto International Film Festival, or TIFF. It operates year-round at TIFF Lightbox in Toronto or online. Munmun Bhattacharya reports for more from Toronto.
I am at the TIFF shop at Toronto's Festival Street. Every year during the Toronto International Film Festival, this becomes the heart of film memorabilia and festival merchandise.
The TIFF shop is an official retail outlet for the Toronto International Film Festival, located at TIFF Lightbox on King Street West and also online. Merchandise at TIFF shop features limited edition apparel, custom jewelry and accessories specially designed for TIFF's 50th anniversary. Here you can find the TIFF 1976 Retro Collection that honors the festival's roots, as 1976 was the year the festival started. Collaborations with major Canadian brands like Roots have resulted in these collectible jackets and leather goods. The shop also has items with the classic Director's Hands motif from TIFF's first poster, besides unique TIFF 50 jewelry. Whether picking up a retro tee, a collectible jacket, or a festival tote, every purchase is a mark of belonging to TIFF's enduring legacy.
It was very fun. I bought sweats that were very thick and they were cotton, and the workers were very, very nice, and there was like a red carpet inside of the TIFF shop, pop-up shop that I went to, and so I got to take a picture with my items, and it was very fun.
It's great. I love that they have the pop-up shop and then they have the one right over there. It's a great experience. It's one of the highlights of the festival for sure.
I had a great experience. I bought a mug and a journal. I'm obsessed with bugs. And when I did have a question, the lady, she was so kind and let me know the answer right away. They were beautiful. There was a red carpet, so I got some really nice pictures. I had a great experience.
Festival Street and TIFF shop together symbolize the accessibility and creative spirit that TIFF brings to Toronto every year.
Shopping at TIFF shop is a ritual for festival goers. It means not just owning a piece of cinematic celebration, but also supporting Canadian film culture and the festival's global outreach. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Toronto for DD India.
Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. Afghanistan started the Asia Cup campaign with a statement win, beating Hong Kong by 94 runs in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday. Batting first, 50s from Sadiqullah Atal and Azmatullah Omarzai. Afghans set a target of 189 for Hong Kong. Sadiqullah Atal remained unbeaten on 73 of 52 balls, while Azmatullah Omarzai scored 53 in 21 balls. In reply, Hong Kong crumbed in the power play, finishing the first 6 overs with a score of 23 for 4. Other bowlers did their job to restrict them on score of 94 for 9. Afghanistan will take on Bangladesh next on September 16th in Abu Dhabi. And India will start the Asia Cup campaign against host United Arab Emirates in Dubai on Wednesday. With a powerful squad blending youth and experience, India will hope to begin on a high, while the UAE, backed by home support, will aim to secure a huge upset.
The stage is set for India's opening match of the Asia Cup 2025. Surya Kumar Yadav's men face host UAE under the lights at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium on Wednesday. India comes into this contest as favourites. Abhishek Sharma and Gill are expected to open, followed by skipper Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma and Rinku in the middle order. While Jitesh Sharma and Sanju Samson are set to take the wicket-keeping gloves, all-rounders Hardik Pandya, Shivam Dubey and Akshar Patel add both depth and firepower. The pace attack will be spearheaded by Jasprit Bumrah, supported by Arshdeep Singh and Harshit Rana, with Varun and Kuldeep Yadav spin. This fixture is also important for India in terms of preparation. With the crucial clash against Pakistan lined up on September 14th, the UAE contest serves as an opportunity to experiment with combinations and strategy. India's rich Asia Cup history further strengthens their case. Having lifted the trophy 8 times, the men in blue will look to carry that dominance forward. but the UAE cannot be taken lightly. The two sides have met only once in T20 internationals in 2016, when India sealed a comfortable win. Since then, UAE has grown significantly. The hosts have won 20 of their last 27 T20 internationals, most of them in multi-nation tournaments. That record underlines their ability to perform under pressure, and against a powerhouse like India, they will look to make a statement. With crowd support expected for both sides, the atmosphere at the Dubai International Stadium promises to be electric. For India, the challenge will be to start strong and fine-tune their rhythm. For the UAE, it's an opportunity to test themselves against the world-class opposition and showcase their progress on the big stage. Sports Desk, DD India.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.